What was your biggest teenage mistake? Not taking better care of my teeth. Thanks, I'll go brush my teeth now. Everyone on Reddit seems to have teeth problems. Otherwise we'd be on Instagram. Not getting the hint that my friend, the beautiful Patricia, wanted to be way more than friends. Started smoking. Being afraid of girls. Didn't realize that they were normal humans too, who just wanted to have fun and be liked. They were mysterious and scary, and I lost a lot of years being self-conscious and shy. LOL true. Emotionally, I realized women are humans too when I heard a quote from G.R.R. Martin who was asked something like, "How do you write women so well?" And his answer was, "Well, I've always considered women to be people." I felt like it was the biggest revelation I'd ever had. And romantically, I remember thinking girls thought sex was icky, and I'd spend my time having to try and convince a girl to sleep with me, which obviously is not a confident move and thusly unattractive. I learned this lesson when, long story short, I jokingly asked a girl, "Do you want to play with my wiener?" whilst I held a plastic toy hot dog, and she just missed the joke and started rubbing my crotch. It took me a while to process, but after I realized, oh my god, women like sex too, I became much more successful. Not being more sociable. I'm 25 now and I have no fucking idea how to make friends. I was quite social as a teenager, but over the course of my 20s lost interest in putting a lot of effort into it. I just stopped caring about what others thought of me, and realized a lot of the friends I had were shallow relationships with people who didn't give a crap about me. So it can be tough, and now all I want to do is focus on what and who is important to me. Shared bank account with girl at 19. I am assuming she took the money. And run. Well, take the money and run. I took my uncle's beautiful restored classic car for a drive when I didn't have a license and got it impounded. How many fingers of yours did he break? Let's just say they call him Tommy Toe Thumbs for a reason. I was a rather negative person as a teenager, but tried to play it off as sarcasm instead. I somehow had grown into this weird bubble where I made fun of almost every little thing, but didn't really realize that I was also hurting my friends by doing that. I did lots of growing up after high school, and I'm a bit sad about not keeping in touch with my old friends. They might have liked me more today than they did back then. The important thing is that you were able to realize your mistakes and learn from it. You matured. And they played a role in that as well. I'm sure they'd be glad to see the person you became now. Marrying my 18-year-old self to a 40-year-old who'd been grooming me for 3 years, just to spite my mother. 010, would not recommend. Getting addicted to pills, specifically oxycodone, which led to a 10-year heroin addiction that I'm just now 7 months clean from. I like horses. In 8th grade I had a t-shirt that said "I horses." This was in the early days of the internet. Guess how many times I got asked if I fucked horses? I did not rebel. My parents incessantly accused me of rebelling and general debauchery despite being in a huge club sport on scholarship, being involved in school councils, having extracurriculars like orchestra, and art, which I always won awards for, having a 3.6 GPA, being the first in my family on track to go to a huge university, etc., etc., etc. I spent my high school life hopping in between crying and self-loathing when I could have been having fun and enjoying my childhood. I spent too much time wondering why my parents didn't love me instead of doing something about it, and refusing to respect them. Looking back at the way I treated this one girl, I was cruel and thoughtless. I'm 50 now and it still hurts me. Trying to be someone who I wasn't. I'm actually more worried about the mistakes I didn't make. Making mistakes means you're experiencing life. I was way too far in my shell to have fun. I didn't even do anything that I could qualify as mistake, just nothing, go to school, study, sleep, then repeat, didn't go to party, no social events, nothing, and no, I just realized how big things like those were. Sold $200 worth of Bitcoins to a friend for tickets to a music festival back in 2011. Now that is a worthy regret. I don't know exactly how much that would be worth now, but I'm thinking minimum a decent 6-figure amount, and maybe even as much as 7 figures. Maybe I'm even underestimating it. Not realizing that my parents weren't doing the best job raising me, preparing me for adulthood, and realizing I should maybe take matters into my own hands. Yeah, me too. but how were we supposed to know? I am in my teenage years RN and I realized I can learn from your mistakes, thanks Redditors. A smart person learns from their mistakes. A wise person learns from other people's mistakes. I robbed a gas station. I told my mom that my stepdad raped me. I was 16. Mom decided to pass away a few weeks later on Mother's Day weekend. I wish I had never told her. Yo, that is not your fault. That is not a normal mothering reaction, that is mental illness. Even if you knew she was struggling, there's no way you should have ever had to assume or guess that's how she would react. Furthermore, if anyone external to her is at fault, it's stepdad anyways. It was his actions she couldn't take if that's even the reason. You are just a mutual victim with your mother. I know that might not be the healthiest if you take that as your identity, so please understand that's just a good viewpoint to work on healing. It is not your fault. Not losing kilos from the beginning. I know it may sound stupid, but being an overweight teenager made me become an outcast everywhere. Kids and adults can be cruel, and even self-esteem was bad. I only lost those kilos near the end, wish I did it much sooner. Don't fret on the past. Nothing can be done about it anymore, and people that were focusing on your weight wouldn't have been good friends anyway, so be happy you dodged trash from your life. You seem like a good, kind and down-to-earth person. Just keep being like that and you'll attract positive people in your life eventually. Until then, I would think of it as a blessing. Trying to be more mature. Since childhood, I prided myself on being an extremely smart person who was above things like cartoons and playing. Of course, I still like those things, but I desperately tried to hide it even though literally nobody actually cared. While everyone my age was dashing to tab away from Norp, I was tabbing away from Minecraft Let's Plays. Even though I'm older now and know that people don't care, I still find myself tabbing away from cartoons and pausing games when people try to see what I'm doing. That instinct is still there. I usually just force myself to resume what I was doing, but I feel like I'd be better off if I didn't have the desire to prove myself to others as a kid. Back when I was just a young hoodlum, I was out for a very late evening drive. Nice cool air and my car was making good power, which for a turbo 5.0 Mustang is quite a bit of power. I was cruising at 100 mph plus with occasional jaunts to much higher speed. Came up to a town and saw a police roadblock. About the same time I saw lights about a mile behind me. I was pretty sure they couldn't have ID'd me by that point, so I took off. Did a little fancy driving and gave them the slip, for a while. Long story short, it came down to wrecking my car or giving up, and I decided to give up. Felony, fleeing the police in a motor vehicle, reckless endangerment, and a couple other charges is what I ended up with. I was 19 at the time. Now I'm 33, I'm an engineer, married to a wonderful man who unfortunately I am not able to have children with. We looked into adoption, but with one of us being a former felon, it's a bit of a non-starter. What happened after? Jail time? I got 3 months of jail time with work release. I ended up serving 2 months. I was on probation for 3 years, but that was a joke. I met with the lady once, and then only called 1 a month. Felony was gross misdemeanor when I finished everything. Thought I was gonna lose my car too, but I think the judge was an enthusiast too, so he let me off with paying the impound fee. The fact that I wasn't drunk or doing anything illegal other than driving like an a-hole, and I didn't hit anything or wreck any cars, played into them going easy won me sentencing-wise. Spending a large inheritance I got when I was 18 in 2009. Could have owned a property outright by now. Coasting through school on being bright and never learning to study. University was a shock and just about managed my 2:2. I coasted through most of school and I'm nearing uni now. Scared as fuck. High school football. My doctor advised me against it, but I was 14 and knew everything. Putting my body through 4 years of abuse was not worth what I got out of it. Today I'm 33 and wake up with a stiff neck every day. My right shoulder has a ton of scar tissue. My elbow has a bone chip. My jaw clicks pops if I open it too wide. And both of my knees ache when it gets too cold. Also, our team sucked. My biggest regret was playing football, rather than joining our school's drumline. Football was such a chore, and our coach even choked a kid out at a game because he fumbled on a 3rd down. Started having sex too young, which lead to mistakes, and pregnancies too young, and losing a baby as a child was too much. I'm still not sure I've recovered. Hey, me too. definitely sticks with you no matter how much time passes. My biggest teenage mistake was not being kind to myself. My teenage years were some of the hardest in my life, hopefully. Trauma after trauma, disappointment after disappointment, and I always blamed myself for them all. It wasn't until recently I could start looking back and realize that it really wasn't my fault. I did a lot more than most would have in my situation, and that even though I had terrible teenage years, it's not a reflection on who I am, but more a reflection on what I was going through. It makes coming to terms with losing out on that part of your life much easier, and I wish I had this mindset much earlier. Not pursuing my passion when I have the age, health, and time with me. Doing an unsuccessful backflip on a trampoline. Treating high school as an obligation and not an opportunity. Not just social but economical gains and your own development are way greater affected by how you view your high school years. What was your biggest teenage mistake? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.